Everybody, this is AP Macro 2016 FRQ, question number 2. Let's get to it. It says the following balance sheet is for First Superior Bank, and here it is right here. Guys, just to get acquainted with balance sheets, guys, assets, what are they? They're things that we own or are owed to us. When I say we, I'm talking about whatever, balance sheet, whoever balance sheet it is, right? So these assets are things First Superior owns or are owed to them. They own their reserves, loans are owed to them. Their liabilities, guys, that's their debt, that's what they owe to others. And then we've got equity, okay, and equity is their net worth, okay? At the end of the day, assets minus liabilities gives you the equity. Here's the thing about a balance sheet, the left-hand side has to equal the right-hand side, and you can see that, right? 200 plus 1,800 is 2,000. You add up these, you've got 2,000. It is a balanced balance sheet. Moving on. Assume that the required reserve ratio is 10%. I've written that on the board. The required reserve ratio is 10%. What is the required reserve ratio? It is the percent of a bank's demand deposits it must hold in reserve. Let me say that again because a lot of kids don't really know this definition. Required reserve ratio is the percent of a bank's demand deposit it must hold in reserve, and it is the Fed that is setting that thing right there, okay? That's actually a tool of monetary policy. What is the dollar value of new loans that First Superior Bank can make? Explain. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We get a question like that. We take that 10%, we multiply that by the demand deposits. That's what is key. Take that, multiply by the demand deposits. What do? We get 200, right? And so they must hold $200 in reserves. How many reserves do they have? 200, which means they have no excess reserves. So if they have no excess reserves, they can't make any loans. Guys, that's our answer. So what is the dollar value? It is 0. The explanation is what I just said, guys. They have no excess reserves. Their $200 are all required reserves. They must hold on to those. B, Mr. Smith deposits $100 of cash in a demand deposit account. Remember, demand deposit account, that's just a banking account. Economists like to use the term demand deposits. Account at First Superior Bank. Calculate the maximum amount of new loans that First Superior Bank can now make. So I've added a couple rows to handle this, okay? So once again, Mr. Smith walks in, makes his deposit, and so he's going to get a demand deposit. So I'm going to say demand deposit Smith. Guys, yes, this is a liability to the bank, okay? The bank owes Mr. Smith this money. That's going to be $100. Now, the good thing for the bank, from the bank standpoint, is they're getting reserves out of this deal. So reserves, $100. That's how we make that entry, all right? Now it says, what's the maximum amount that Superior Bank can loan, okay? Well, they have to hold on to 10% of that, okay? So what is 10% of 100? Of course, it's 10, right? So out of that $100 of reserves, they can only loan out 90. So their maximum loan that they can make, their loan, which is their maximum loan that they can make, is $90. And by the way, I'm going to finish this off, I want to keep my balance sheet balanced. Guys, loans create money in the form of demand deposits, which this demand deposit will go to somebody who's ever, borrowing the money. So I'm just going to put B, and then we're going to put $90. All right? So loans create money. That's a big thing to take away. But we've got our answer, guys. What's the maximum amount First Superior Bank can lend? Guys, that's $90. C, as a result of Mr. Smith's $100 cash deposit, calculate the maximum change over time in each of the following in the banking system, okay? We're moving from just looking at a single bank now to the entire banking system, and now we want to use our money multiplier. So here, I've got a lot of stuff on the board, and I like to talk about how there's 7 major questions that we need to be able to handle. And they're asking 3, by the way. By the end of this problem, they're going to ask 3 of the 7 major questions. So we get some type of change, and what was the change? Somebody making a deposit. Now they're going to want to know things like, was there an immediate change in the money supply? And then they're going to want to know what's the max initial change in each of these things, demand deposits, bank lending, and money supply. And then they're going to want to know the max change in demand deposits, bank lending, and money supply. And what I'm trying to say, guys, is you can take any of these 3 things, put it in that blank, and whatever you put in this blank, put the same thing in this blank. So if you put demand deposits there, put it over there. So with all that said, let me see if I can get all this answered. But before I do, we actually need to do one more thing. I need to, what is the money multiplier, right? We got to calculate the money multiplier. The money multiplier is 1 over the required reserve ratio. We know that the required reserve ratio is 10%, so 1 over 0.1 is 10, right? We've got a money multiplier of 10 Let me put that right there. Now let me answer those 7 questions. Was there an immediate change in the money supply from the deposit? I just want to say, like, is there a change from the deposit? No. So there was no immediate change from the deposit, so I'm going to say 0. Immediate means, did the deposit itself change the money supply? The answer is no. The money supply did not actually change until we got that loan, which happened next, okay? Next, let's get to these 6 questions. The problem's not asking that, but it is asking about, I think, all 3 of these, okay? So, first one. Max actually doesn't apply, that's why I've got it in parentheses. What was the initial change in demand deposits? We totally know what that was. That was 100, right? So I take my 100 times the money multiplier, which is 10, and what do I get? I get 1,000. So for C2, I'm answering a little bit out of order. C2 demand deposits, 1,000 would be the answer. Next, they want loans. There's my bank lending, okay? Guys, what am I going to put in this blank? And by the way, max does apply here. What's the max initial change in? Well, we've already answered that question. It was $90. And again, the word initial means first change, okay? What was our max first change in bank lending? It was $90. So we put 90 times our money multiplier, which is 10. What do we get? We get 900. So the answer to C1 is 900. D. As a result of Mr. Smith's 100 cash deposit, calculate the maximum change over time in the money supply. So they want that money supply also. So what was the max initial change in the money supply? All right, guys, when did the money supply change? Did it change from the demand deposit from the deposit? No, it did not change from the deposit. It changed from the loan, and that's when we got. That's the first new money we got. The first new money we got. 90 times 10, what are we going to put here? 900. The answer to D is 900. E. Provide one reason why the actual change in the money supply can be smaller than the maximum change you identified in Part D. So again, you see in the formula, we've got this max, right? So there are 2 big things we need to get that max. Number 1, we need banks to keep 0 excess reserves. They need to lend out all of their excess reserves, right? Lend out all excess reserves. And then number 2, guys, here's kind of what's going to happen is whoever got that loan, they got that loan to go buy something. They're going to go buy something. They're going to write a check to somebody, and then whoever receives that check, it's probably a business, right? What they're going to do is they're going to go deposit it. And when they go deposit it, we need that depositor to deposit the full amount of that check into the banking system and not take any of that money that that check represents in cash, okay? We need it all to stay in the banking system. So the key is no currency drains. That's right. No currency drains. Nobody can go to the bank with a check, okay? And remember, whoever took that loan is going to go buy something, write a check to somebody. We don't want anybody going to the bank and saying, you know what, just put half of it into my checking account, give me half in cash. That would be a currency drain. If we get no currency drains, all the money stays in the banking system, and banks let out all of their excess reserves, we're going to get those max changes that we talked about in this problem. Hope that made sense to you. We'll see you in number 3.